Last week I mentioned smart goals, and earlier in the pod I said that I'm not a big one for setting time limits on goals, and then at the end of the podcast I talked about smart goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timed as being a common way of measuring goals. Now, I just want to clarify my stance on the T for timed. If it's a short-term goal, so for example, if you... Let's talk about anything, right? If you have to pay your rent next week and you need to earn some money, then there's a very clear timed goal, isn't there? Okay, if you have fitness goals to reach with your team or yourself, there's very clear time goals. You need to be fit for the start of the season, or you need to have your skill at a certain place at the start of the season. The goals I was referring to without the T for time are the big goals, i.e. win a competition in, or finish top 4 in, so that's where I was with that. My coaching focus this week, I've started giving you all a focus that I want you to think about each week, is that this is on the thinking about your players, okay? So working hard is actually a talent. It's actually a skill. Some people literally don't have it. And that's what separates the best from the absolute best. So not just the best and the worst, the best and the absolute best. And just like nobody's going to knock on your door and give you money for not working, right? Your players need to have that same attitude too, and to come from you as a coach, that if they want to win a game at the weekend, then they need to put some work in. Ash Taylor tells me how when he was at the Gold Coast Titans and they were in the wooden spoon position and kept losing games, they just worked harder to get out of that problem. But working hard is a talent. And if you've not got a team that works hard, what you need to do is gather a team together that will never, ever, ever let you and others down. And what does that look like? It looks like never giving in. It looks like trying your hardest all the time. Because, honestly, if players as individuals and if as a team, you just keep banging on that door, bang, 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 bang on that door, eventually it opens. And I was reminded of this by something that popped up in my memory things on socials. I coached a fellow called Kiko Manu. I brought him to Ipswich State High back in the day. It would be 10 years ago now, actually, and he played a season at Ipswich State High. And I found him when nobody from the NRL did, even though they were looking at the same things I was. And within a year, he signed a contract. And then he played under 20s, a little bit of reserves. And bear in mind, he played for me when he was 17. He didn't play NRL until he was 23. So people were behind him and got past him for one reason or another. People were next to him, but went past him for one reason or another. People were ahead of him and got even further ahead of him for one reason or another at the Bulldogs. But he was working as hard as he could all the time. And he believed in himself before others did. Because you have to believe in yourself before others can believe in you. He could have given up twice, quite frankly, but he didn't. And made his debut at age 23. Now, it wasn't a significant NRL career that we're talking about, but his dream was to play NRL. When he was 16, the year after I found him, he didn't make any top representative squads. What I saw in Kiko back then was his fighting spirit, his will to win as much as anything else. And then when I spoke to his coach and others in and around him, other carers and coaches and teammates, they said exactly the same. His will to win, his fighting spirit, his desire to get the best outcomes and to work hard were backed up by all those people. And they felt he had what it takes to get to the top. And I will tell you, getting Kiko was one of the best decisions I ever made. He had football smarts and he could judge a defence that wasn't doing the right thing all of a sudden. So if they had a sloppy defensive moment, he pounced on it. He was a great defender. So it was never smooth sailing for him. And I believe he even had a significant injury at one point, and then he had to do a daytime apprenticeship. So while others from his team in the 20s were getting full-time contracts, he was working in a garage. And he took as much pride and took the same approach that he took to his football to his work in that car repair shop. You know, one of them panel beater places. And then that stuff filled his social media output for a while. But little did everybody know he was still working away in the evenings too. So it's a rare beast that makes the NRL deep into their 20s. I think there was another one who did that for the Broncos last week, Ben Tolte. And I think they all possess some special things within them. Number one, they're in the drive. That's a trait, I think, quite frankly. Number two, the fighting spirit and the will to win. Number three, the ability to work hard, which is a skill and a choice. Number four, they turn setbacks into comebacks. They just dust themselves off and start again. They're like goldfish. They forget things, take what they need to learn from it and just move on. And they have humility in bucket loads. They don't get up their own backside.